what I'm doing here is I'm just about to cut out the main panel of the tool roll. The pattern itself is a load of pockets that are stitched into a single panel that's folded over 4 times. So it's very important to get this main piece square to the right shape and correct. I'm using a metal rule here because when I'm cutting out either paper or leather, using a metal rule allows you to get nice, crisp, straight cuts. Also prevents the skipping. When you use a plastic one, your knife, especially if it's sharp, will take chunks out of the plastic. It can skip up the plastic and worst comes to worst, cut your finger. I'm also using an old vise, broken vise here, to weigh down the tail end of the metal rule so that I've got a nice even pressure across the whole piece. And when I get closer to myself, the rule doesn't slip. Some people also apply non-stick tape to the back of the rule, and that helps it stick. Now I am just seeing what it will look like with all 4 panels with the 2 folds in. The centre 2 panels in this pattern has 4 pockets. This rectangular pattern will form the basis of 2 of the pockets, which will have 4 slots, all 1 inch wide, and there is an 1/8 inch seam allowance. If you want to do it in metric, that's 25mm each with a 4mm seam allowance. I'll be adding in a link to the original video where I got this pattern from, where they describe the process needed to work out a panel so you can make your own shape and size. This is marking out where each of the folds are going to go and where I'm thinking each of the panels for my pockets are going to go. I've marked out on the back side of those pockets where the seams are going to go, so I can just about figure out where I want to go without ruining the front side of it. I like that. I like where they're going, and then I'm just going to test fit where my pricking irons are going to go. I usually take that first prong and overlay it so it's only on one piece of that leather. You've got to make sure that it's straight, vertical. You can look along it. You've got to be careful not to look either side because then it can be off. A couple of hits and it should go through most leather. Every single hole on here I've pre-punched. These are a godsend. This is a 4mm pricking iron set, and when they get a little bit sticky in the leather, if you just use a little bit of wax, tend to have a candle or some beeswax or something, that'll help it go through the leather. It's not so difficult to get it in, it's more about getting it out without it snagging or pulling on the leather. Again, it's usually more of an issue on thicker leathers. An additional tip, something I've been doing for quite a long time, is once you've marked your line when you're hammering in like I'm hammering at the moment, what I'll do is I'll take the first 2 tangs and put them in the holes that I've just made, and that helps you keep a really nice straight line. It's possible to get different sizes of pricking irons. These are 4mm. Got another set that I've just got called a 6mm, and obviously the 6mm are quicker to stitch. We're now at a point where all the panels have been measured, cut and punched. I've glued on these pieces, and it's time to talk a little bit about stitching. when you're stitching leather, you want 4 times the length of your distance. So I've measured down here, across, and back up because this is a 3-sided pocket. Looped it over on itself to get 4 runs. 4 runs is just about right. I tend to do 4.5 depending on the length. So that way you've got a little bit of extra to tie off. And that's this will be a double needle. So to do that, to thread the needle, put it in, pull it down, so you've got a little loop, push your needle back through your thread, like this, hold your needle, and then just pull your thread down. And then when you've got your long thread, pull that back up. And that just locks it in tight. Don't have to worry about holding it. And then try not to tangle your thread like I've done. And just to show you again, that's through here, through the little eye, through the little eye. Pull it, so you've got your needle in. A lot of people tend to do this. Just try to sew like this, which pulls, and you'll lose your thread, which is really annoying when you're halfway through. So you take your needle, make a little loop, pass the tip of your needle through your wax thread, so you've got your little slip there. Take your tail, pull it down onto your string so it's nice and tight. Take your long length and pull that back, and now you've got 2 needles that are ready to sew. Okay. I've already done these 2 bits up here, not the tidiest stitching I've ever done. I don't normally stitch leather this thin. It's definitely an art to do that itself. On this side I've double back, so there's two lengths of stitching, and on this side I didn't have enough, and I'm being lazy, so I'm making this out of scraps. So what was left over from that, I just did this one side. I have double stitched top and bottom so that it's got some strength, and that'll hold my pen, hopefully. There we go. Here we go, 2 needles. 2 needles, I've already passed my first one through and made sure that they're even together by just holding them together and then just stretching the thread up. So to saddle stitch, you take the first needle, this is how I do it, and you know, loads of different techniques, but this is what's starting to work for me. Take my first needle, just push it through here. You can use an awl. A lot of people on thicker leathers will use an awl to do this, which is one of these. You just punch it through the hole there, pull it back, and then push your back needle through. Once you push your back needle through, you take your first one. I've started doing this again recently, so take this first needle, push it on the back, and just apply a little bit of pressure, and you can just pinch it through. Once you're doing that, I'm already holding the string in my backhand here, pulling it here, and then I pull it back. The reason why I pull that back here is then I take this one with my little fingers, push my other needle through here, and then wrap that thread over, casting the thread, so lifting it up and over, pushing it through, pulling it. And then what I was saying about the top and bottom, if you do this slightly at an angle, your left arm or your dominant, non-dominant higher, your other one lower, that will always get you a nice even stitch. What you don't want to be doing is pulling here, pulling there, pulling the other way. You pull tight, just always do it in the same way. Okay, so I'm not going to use the oil. Okay, here we go. Okay. First one through, back, hole, cast. Okay. Through. A bit tricky. If it doesn't work, just push the needle back through again. Back, through, past, and then you just rinse and repeat this for a very long time. Sometimes these needles get a bit stuck when you're pulling the back end. So it's usually at the back end when you're doing this pull, and it's just like a little bit too much tension. If you can't pull it out, if you've got slippy fingers, a pair of pliers. I tend to use these. These are my favourite ones for this because they're flat, they won't chew up my needles, and then they just straight through. And just put that back down. It does mess up your rhythm a little bit when you do that, but you know, better than stopping, I suppose. What I've done here, caught my thread because I got out of my rhythm. Generally in the rhythm, by pulling the thread back, like I did over here, it tends to prevent this. I only ever snag when I don't do that. So I can try to, really what I should do is unpick. Pass my needle back through. But again, pulling all the threads back, pushing my needle forwards, that way towards you, and then now that I've done that, I can take my needle, pass it back through where I cast my thread, and then so I've pulled it into a little bit more here, pull it all back, push my needle through, cast again, and then there we go. Opening the hole, push my needle through, cross, pull, push through, cast, pull. There we go. So what you can see here, just stop for a second, these are reasonably tidy, they're not massively tidy, but then here where I had to pull that thread through because I'd lost my rhythm and I wasn't pulling in the right way and I wasn't being consistent, that little stitch there isn't as neat and tidy as the rest of these. And these first three are the better ones, but a bit wonky, and then whoa, this is where I use the plier. So there you go. That's how to thread some needle through some leather. Hope you enjoy. Look forward to seeing some of your projects, and then I'll show you the rest of this later on. A little trick I picked up from the guy that made the pattern here was to tie off my threads inside the pocket. To do that, you get your needle, you put it through the outer hole, and it comes out in between the two layers. Then you do an overhand knot, and using something with a little split in it, I'm using my two pricking iron here, you can leverage the string against that tool. So you see I take the tool here, I hook it onto the string, I push the tool into the pocket where my finger wouldn't be able to go normally, and then pull tight against that. That cinches down the knot and hides it. Here I'm scoring around the edges. I'm wanting to know where I'm gluing these final two patterns in place. Taking some Evo Stick. Evo Stick's my contact adhesive of choice. I kind of like those little tubes because they don't go off. I've got a tin on order at the moment because I'm going to be doing a lot of leather working, but generally I usually use these little tubes here. With contact adhesive like this, what you need to do is put it on both sides, spread it out to where you want it to be. Here I'm using an old bit of leather, and wait for it to dry. If it's tacky, you need to still leave it alone. So you need to wait until it's dry completely on both sides. So wait. Now it's dry. I'm lightly touching it in. I realise it doesn't quite fit, so I was able to just move it over because I only just touched it together. If you press down straight away, you'll never get it apart. Rolling it together with the maul and just touching up some of the overspill. And there we go. A little bit of excess needs cutting off now. I just use a cheap cutter like this, but I tend to sharpen it on a stone, and I also strop my knives as well. It's better to keep them sharp. Once you've got your knife sharp, a little bit of stropping here and there, and that edge will stay. Better keep a nice sharp knife for cutting leather, because you don't have to push so hard, you're less likely to cut yourself. And again, going back to the metal rule here, there we go, nice tidy edge. Pretty much done. Just ready to run stitches all around the outside, and then we're done. Here we go. The only additional thing I did here was punch 2 holes and a couple of eyelets that I ran some thonging through, and now I can tie it down.